Romance of Three Kingdoms Chapter 1. Three heroes, Xuanda, Guanyu and Zhang bind themselves by the vow of the peach orchard. They triumph against the yellow headband rebels. Empires arise from chaos and empires collapse back into chaos. This we have known since time began. The Zhou dynasty collapsed when 7 kingdoms tore apart the empire by fighting among themselves, until eventually the Qin kingdom conquered all of the other kingdoms. But the Qin did not last long, and after them came the competing forces of Chu and Han. They also fought among themselves until the Han triumphed, uniting all under heaven into one empire again. Many years later, the empire was divided by an uprising, but unity was restored by Emperor Guangwu, and all was well again until, that is, the reign of Emperor Xian, when the empire split into 3 kingdoms. It was brought about by 2 previous bad emperors, Emperor Huan, who favored eunuchs over men of distinction and integrity, and Emperor Ling, his successor, who failed to support a palace conspiracy against the eunuchs, and the instigators were executed. From that time on the eunuchs were in complete control, and nobody could stop them. From early in the 2nd year of his reign when the Emperor Ling was troubled by omens of bad fortune. There was a green snake which appeared and wrapped itself around the throne during a great ceremony, in later years a terrible thunderstorm which destroyed many buildings, and an earthquake which struck at the heart of the capital Luoyang, while floods crashed in on the coast. Reports arrived of hens turning into cocks, strange dark clouds filled the hall of gentle virtue, while a rainbow appeared in the jade chamber. The cliff face of a mountain collapsed. All these omens, and there were many others, were too numerous to be dismissed as simply isolated incidents. Despite warnings by loyal ministers, the emperor retreated into his palace, and a gang of eunuchs, called the 10 imperial attendants, took over. They were led by Zhang Rang, who was the emperor's favorite. Things became so bad that across the empire people's hearts and minds turned to thoughts of rebellion, and outlaws swarmed over the land like wasps. One of the rebellions is led by 3 brothers, Zhang Ju, Zhang Bao and Zhang Liang. Zhang Ju failed his imperial exam and in despair took himself off to find solace and healing in the mountains. One day he meets an old man, a master of secret knowledge. He leads Zhang Ju into a cave and there presents him with a divinely inspired book in 3 volumes. The old master says, "This is known as the peaceful way for the future. Heaven has chosen you to be its messenger, spreading its teachings throughout the land for this whole generation. But you must practice compassion. If you do otherwise, ill fortune will befall you." Zhang Ju wants to know who this old master is. "I am the old immortal from the sacred mountain of Huashan," he replies and, with that, disappears from sight. Zhang Ju applies himself to the study of the texts and soon, through the magic arts he acquires, such as being able to call up the wind and rain, he becomes known as the peaceful master of the way. In the last year of Emperor Ling's reign too the plague strikes. The amulets and spells Zhang Ju distributes to the people are so successful that his fame spreads far and wide, and soon he has hundreds of thousands of followers. A song starts to be sung at this time. The blue heaven is dying. The yellow heaven arising. A new cycle is beginning, bringing good fortune for all. Zhang Ju gives himself the title of great and esteemed leader. He decides to seize the moment and overthrow the dynasty. He has yellow banners made, agrees an auspicious date for the uprising and sends one of his trusted disciples to the capital, where there are already supporters within the palace itself. He meets a senior contact within the palace and informs him about the planned uprising. But the disciple betrays him, all conspirators at the court are arrested, and the whole gang of rebels within the palace is imprisoned. With his plot uncovered, in desperation, Zhang Ju summons his troops. Calling himself Heaven's commander, he announces to his followers that a great sage will soon appear, and a new era will begin. From across the empire, hundreds of thousands of people respond to his call. They wear yellow cloth wrapped around their heads, and the sheer force of their rebellion causes the imperial troops to scatter as if blown away by the wind. Zhang Ju's army invades the area where the governor is a man called Liu Yan, a distant member of the imperial family. He is advised to urgently issue a written proclamation in order to recruit an army of volunteers. The proclamation is posted up in Zhuo County, where one man, a true hero, sees it. While he is not a scholar, he is a good man, generous, reserved and modest. His greatest aspiration is to befriend the worthiest men of the empire. He is a tall man, with arms that reach down below his knees. He has long earlobes, and his eyes are so wide apart he can actually see his own ears. His face is as pure as jade, while his lips are bright red. This man is called Chuanda, meaning mystic virtue. His family surname is Lu, and his given name Bei. His father died when he was young, leaving him and his mother in poverty despite being descendants of the imperial family. In order to survive, he wove mats and sandals which he then sold. They lived in a village named after its huge mulberry tree, 2 stories high, which looked like a canopy for an imperial carriage. Once a fortune teller foretold that a man of significance would emerge from this village. And one day, when he was a young child, playing under the canopy of the tree, Chuanda said, "When I am the son of heaven, my carriage will have a canopy just like this." His uncle, Lu Yuanqi, who took care of the poor family and often supported his nephew, commented that this was no ordinary child. At the age of 15, Chuanda's mother sent him away to school. Chuanda is 28 years old when he reads the proclamation posted by Governor Lu. As he is reading it, he sighs deeply. Then, suddenly, a voice behind him asks rather sharply, "Why such deep sighs? Surely a true man will serve the emperor at times of such danger." Turning round, Chuanda finds a man a little taller than him. His forehead is flattened like that of a panther, he has great round eyes, the heavy jowls of a swallow, a great hairy beard and mustache, a voice like thunder and the energy of a prancing horse. "Who are you?" Chuanda asks, with a mixture of fear and astonishment. "My name," he says, "is Zhang Fei. For generations we've lived here on our farm, trading wine and pork. Now I'm looking for men of true spirit to join me, and when I heard you sighing in front of this proclamation, I decided to have words with you." Actually, Chuanda replies, "My name is Chuanda, family name Lu, so I'm related to the emperor. When I heard about all the trouble the Yellow Headband rebels were causing, I decided to go and help attack them and protect the people. I was sighing just then because I was worried about whether I could really help. And then you challenged me. I've contacts that could be used to recruit men from around here," says Zhang Fei. "So why don't we work together for this great cause? Now don't you think that's a good idea?" Chuanda is delighted, and to celebrate the two go off to an inn. While they are drinking they see an athletic-looking man pushing a wheelbarrow. He stops to rest at the inn. "I'm off to volunteer," he announces, after brusquely demanding some wine. Chuanda studies him with great interest. He is huge, with a 2-foot beard and red cheeks. His lips shine, and his eyes are slanted like those of the crimson phoenix, while his bushy eyebrows look like silkworms. With his size and his fearful bearing he is clearly a fighter, and it is no time before Chuanda invites him to join them at their table and to tell them who he is. "My name is Guanyu and I'm from Jilian in Hedong," the newcomer says. "However, I had to leave there in a hurry after I killed a bully who was terrorizing the local people. I've been traveling for about 5 or 6 years now. And after I heard about the call to arms I decided to come to join up." Chuanda fills him in on his own plans, and Guanyu is delighted. Zhang Fei invites them to leave the inn and go to his manor house nearby to make plans. When they get there, Zhang Fei tells them that there is a peach orchard behind the house. "It's in full flower at the moment," he says. "Why don't the 3 of us go there tomorrow and make sacrifices to heaven and earth? We can bind ourselves to each other so that we can fulfill our destiny together and fight side by side in our great adventure." Chuanda and Guanyu agree completely with his plan. "Yes," they both say, as if with one voice. The following day the 3 go to the peach orchard. They prepare among various other offerings a black bull and a white horse. Then in the midst of the smoke from the incense the 3 men make their vow, one to the other. "We, Chuanda, Guanyu and Zhang Fei. Even though we come from separate families, we vow to stand by each other and be blood brothers forever. Let us agree to protect the people of our homeland. When we're in trouble, we'll rescue each other. When we're in danger we'll be there for each other. So even though we weren't born in the same year, month, day, on the same day and month in the same year, may we die. We pray that heaven above and the earth below that nurtures everything will hear this plea from our hearts. And if we fail to do what is right, if we fail to do what is gracious, then may heaven and the people bring us down. Having sworn their mutual allegiance, they agree that Chuanda will henceforth be considered the elder brother, Guanyu II and Zhangfei III. Having vowed this before heaven and earth, they cook the meat and share out the wine and invite the 300 or so who have agreed to join them from the surrounding area to feast and drink with them in the middle of the peach orchard. Over the next few days everyone is busy gathering weapons, finding enough horses and getting special armor made. Chuanda has 2 double-edged swords fashioned, Guanyu has a curved sword called Cold Wonder forged, while Zhangfei orders a long spear. By now some 500 young men have joined. Together they all march off and report for duty to Lu Yan, the governor whose call to arms was the original spur to action. Needless to say, he is delighted, not least when, just a few days later, a yellow headband army of around 50,000 men attacks the Zhou district. Chuanda leads his men forward. Flanked by Guanyu on his left and Zhangfei to his right, he challenges the rebels, crying, "You traitors, surrender now." In the battle that follows, Zhangfei slays the enemy champion with his giant spear, while Guanyu slices the champion's companion in 2. The rebels flee, many are taken prisoner. This valiant effort is honored by a poem. What courage on this auspicious day! One with his spear, another with his sword. In their first encounter, their bravery shines. A land split 3 ways will always sing of their success. But the very next day an urgent request for help comes from the governor of the besieged city of Qingzhou. Chuanda and his brothers in arms, now with 5,000 men, march there to help. But they are driven back by the rebels. There are too many of them, Chuanda says to Guanyu and Zhangfei. The only solution is to surprise them. Which is why they plan an ambush. Chuanda and the bulk of the army march forward, making as much noise as possible, while the other 2 take 1,000 men each and hide on either side of a mountain. The rebels attack, and Chuanda's men fall back as if they are retreating. Suddenly the war gongs ring out, and from either side of the mountain pass soldiers surge down, while Chuanda's men turn and attack their pursuers. The rebels flee back to the camp outside the besieged Qingzhou, from where the governor leads out his people to the attack. The rebels are overwhelmed by this pincer movement. Many of them die that day. So it is that Qingzhou is saved. News now reaches the 3 men that the rebel leader Zhang Ju is attacking the neighboring city of Guangzhong, and that the city is defended by Chuanda's old teacher, Lu Ji. So off the 3 brothers in arms go, with their 500 men, and my goodness is Lu Ji delighted to see them. However, he tells them that the real struggle is further afield, at the city of Yingchuan, where the 2 brothers of the rebel chief are locked in combat with imperial forces, so at dead of night Chuanda and his troops ride to Yingchuan. The rebels have set up a temporary fort in the countryside, and that night they are attacked in an unexpected way. The commanders on the emperor's side have ordered each of their soldiers to carry a straw torch. As the night wind rises, the soldiers set fire to the fields all around the rebel encampment. As the flames soar high into the night sky, the troops attack, and the rebels flee in panic. The 2 brothers of the chief rebel, Zhang Liang and Zhang Bao, race through the night with their men. As dawn breaks they run straight into a new troop of soldiers. They are led by a cavalryman of modest height, with sharp eyes and a long beard. His name is Cao Cao. He is a schemer and dedicated to the chase and to partying. When he was young, one of his uncles complained about him to his father, leading his father to punish him. So the next time Chow met that uncle he fell down as if he was having an epileptic fit. Horrified, the uncle rushed to fetch his father, who, when he came running, found Chow perfectly well. Chow's father couldn't understand what was going on and asked his son if he was all right. "I'm fine. Nothing happened, but this is typical of the lies my uncle tries to tell to alienate you from me," Chow said. This trick turned the father against the uncle, so no matter what complaints were made thereafter, Chow was free to behave just as he wished. When the first Yellow Headband revolt broke out, many people spoke of Cao Cao as being the one who could save the dynasty. One fortune teller said, "You're wise enough to rule the world and perverse enough to destroy the world." "Oh good," Cao Cao thought. Running into Zhang Liang and Zhang Bao fleeing with their men, he attacks them with the 5,000 troops under his command. Although the two Zhang brothers managed to escape once again, Chao's men kill 10,000 of the rebels and capture their train of wagons with all their goods. Then Chao sets off after the two fleeing brothers. Back at Yingchuan, Chuanda and his two brothers arrive to find the rebels already in disarray. There they are told that the scattered remnants of the rebel army are heading for Guangzhong, the city where Chuanda's old master Lu Ji is governor. So they turn around and hurry back. But as they are traveling back, they come upon a prison wagon, surrounded by soldiers. To their astonishment, who is inside but Lu Ji? "What on earth is going on?" they ask. "I almost captured that rebel Zhang Ju," Lu Ji says bitterly. "But he used magic and escaped. The court sent a corrupt official to investigate who wanted me to pay him off so he would report back to the court in my favor. But we had exhausted all our resources fighting the rebels, so even if I had wanted to, which I didn't, I can't bribe him." So he told the court that the failure to capture Zhang Ju was my fault because I was frightened to go on the offensive. The court then sent Dong Zhuo to take my place and have ordered me back to the court for trial. Zhang Fei, whose fury is never far from the surface, wants to kill the guards and free the prisoner, but Chuanda stops him. "We should trust the court and let justice be done," he says. "With Lu arrested, we don't have anywhere to go except back to Zhuo," Guan Yu says. And it is agreed that this is exactly what they will do. It is 2 days later, back in Zhuo County, that they hear the sounds of a battle nearby. Climbing a hill, they see a host of Yellow Headband rebels overrunning an imperial army. In the midst of the rebels, who are clearly winning, they see a banner declaring the troops are led by Heaven's commander. They know this must be Zhang Ju, in person. "Let's attack," cries Chuanda, and the three brothers sweep down the hill with their troops, falling upon the rebels. They are just in time, because Zhang Ju is on the point of defeating the imperial commander Dong Zhuo, who has been sent to take Lu Ji's place after he was arrested. The battle is long and hard, but eventually Zhang Ju retreats. The three brothers rescue Dong Zhuo and escort him back to their camp. When Dong Zhuo discovers his rescuers are not officers, just ordinary men who have taken command, he dismisses them. He rejects any idea that they might have helped him and he sends them out of the camp. Zhang Fei is furious. He vows to get revenge on this worthless man whom they have just rescued. "He must die," Zhang Fei shouts. He draws his sword and rushes back to the Imperial forces camp, intent on killing Dong Zhuo. Will Dong Zhuo survive? This will soon be revealed.